This is Gardening in America, and I'm Ed Hume. Today we're in Port Townsend, Washington at Snow Creek Daylily Gardens, and I'm with the owner, Diana Gibson. Diana, where is the Snow Creek Daylily Gardens?
We're on the Olympic Peninsula, about an hour and a half from Seattle.
And you not only specialize in daylilies, but you do regular lilies. And
that's correct.
And have a beautiful selection. These are just a few of the lilies that are in bloom at this time of the year. But you know, also I noticed here at the gardens, some of them cut up. Is this the time of the year that you actually divide them?
Daylilies can be divided, reset, and replanted anytime the ground's not frozen. In the really cold areas, though, you need about 4 to 6 weeks of non-freezing soil in order for them to be reestablished before winter. But we dig and ship all summer long.
Oh, you do? So for the home gardener, the best time would be after they flower, or?
For the home gardener, I think I would do it just before they start to come into blossom, before they start to put up their flowering scapes. Because at that time, the plant is still just starting to wake up.
Sure.
And that gives it, a little bit of time to get them into the ground, get them established again before summer starts and before they start to bloom.
Now, when is the peak flowering season of the daylilies?
Okay, for our particular area in Western Washington, around the 4th of July weekend through until about the middle of August. Generally speaking, daylilies will start blooming about the first part of May for Stella d'Oro, the earliest bloomer for here, and they'll go on till, in our climate, about the mid-October for the very last one called May. Which
so
reblooms.
That's a long flowering season.
Those are mostly repeat bloomers.
Sure. Now, how many colors do they come in?
Everything but blue.
Everything but
Everything
blue.
but blue.
So they're really, and how hardy are they?
Very hardy. In fact, many times we will have, our compost heap will have daylily divisions sitting on top of the pile for the winter, and we come back the next spring and the pesky things are still growing. They don't have any soil on top of them. They've just had rainfall or snow or frozen weather, whatever, but they continue to grow.
Sun, shade, what kind of location do they need?
Full sun for best bloom.
Full sun.
And also ample water, at least an inch of water per week for the best bloom. If you decide to go on vacation for 3 or 4 weeks, as long as it's an established clump, they'll just wait until you get back. When you start watering them again, and they'll start blooming.
Diane, is there a time when they need to be divided? Like, should they, after a few years, be separated? Or?
If you wish to have more of the same plant in other areas of the garden, I would go ahead and I would divide it with just take a shovel and cut right down the middle of an established clump, and just take half of it out and put it into another location. If you leave them alone for 15 or 20 years, you're going to need a backhoe to take them out.
Okay, yeah. Thanks very much for sharing all that information about the daylilies with us. They are beautiful flowering plants. Today I'm going to show you how to make an easy and inexpensive window box for herbs. I'm just starting with a couple of cedar boards left over from another project. And you'll only need basic tools and galvanized nails. You'll need a hammer, you'll need a handsaw, you'll need a square, and that's about all. And of course, in the bottom you want to be sure to put in the drainage holes. So let's start. As you can see, I've mounted my herb window box just outside the kitchen, and this is a great location for a couple of different reasons. First, it's convenient for cooking. Second, it's a good location because of the sun and a great place to grow herbs, in fact. And third, it offers a great opportunity to teach the kids about herbs, how to grow them, and how they're used in cooking. So let's plant this up. Let's use just a few, and you should use whatever herbs you like the best. But let's use a few that I kind of like. First of all, let's use the winter savory. And of course, we've got to loosen that root system. You can see it's very, very matted. Winter savory has a peppery flavor, and it's ideal for meats and for sauces and for soups too. And look at the beautiful foliage of it. And then second here, let's use Greek oregano. And everybody knows what oregano is good to use for, but this one has a stronger flavor than the common oregano. And we'll just put it in next, and look at a great texture combination here between the two. And then third, we use the golden sage, which is ideal for pork, poultry, and cheese. And look at that great foliage color as well. Really a nice herb. And then fourth here, we'll use garlic chives. And garlic chives are ideal for garnishing soups, poultries, and of course vegetables as well. And it gives it yet another foliage texture. And then last here, we'll use the rosemary. And rosemary, of course, has a great aroma, has a nice growth habit too, but it's used mainly in fish, any meats, and of course soups as well. And we'll just put it in here. It's the very last one. So you can see here, outside this very sunny window, kitchen window, we have all these herbs ready to use. All you have to do is come and pick them. They don't take a lot of care in such a location. All you have to do is really watch the watering, because herbs thrive a lot on neglect. What a great idea. Summer is a great time for composting, and today we're in Olympia, Washington, and I'm with Holly Westcott of the Washington State Department of Ecology. Holly, this is a beautiful facility. Who maintains it?
The master gardeners and master composters of Thurston County maintain this, and they do a wonderful job, you can see.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different areas here in the garden, but today we're talking about composting. And summer composting, where would you start?
Well, what you'd have to do is collect your garden waste, grass clippings, any other organic debris in your yard that you want to compost, gather it together, and then build your pile.
Is there any certain method that you particularly recommend to people?
Well, what you want to do is pay attention to the kinds of materials that you put in the pile. And we talk about green materials, those materials that contain a lot of nitrogen, and brown materials.
Right.
The carbon sources, leaves, straw, those kinds of things. Mix them up together, put them in whatever kind of holding container that you want, and you've got a compost pile.
Let's talk about holding containers. Are there preferences?
Well, there's different kinds depending on how much effort you want to put into your composting. If you don't have a lot of time, probably the best thing for you would be to have a holding unit. Either a wire bin or some kind of bin that you're just going to put your materials in there, and they'll decompose over time. You don't have to do a whole lot with them.
Do they have to be turned or anything? Or?
If you want to turn your compost, you will have compost in less amount of time, and probably you'll heat it up faster.
Now I notice you have one back here with a crank on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different type. Do you recommend that type?
Well, that kind is for people who want to have that certain look in their yard.
Oh, I see.
And it works very well. I've used those and they're nice.
And I notice in the different ones that you have around here that there's some that are commercially made and some that are homemade. Mm-hmm. What's the difference, or is there any difference?
Well, it just depends on how much you want to put into it, again, as far as what price you want to pay. The kind of bins that you build yourself could be a little bit less expensive. These look, the manufactured bins look wonderful in your yard. It just depends on what aesthetically pleases you.
Holly, why do people compost?
Compost is a wonderful soil amendment. It's one of those things that people consider black gold for their garden. And also the second benefit is that it keeps those materials that you'd otherwise bring to the landfill out of the landfill.
You know, and is the compost used, for example, here in Dirt Works parks?
Oh yes, as a matter of fact, they have a very hard time keeping enough supplied for the gardeners that use it.
And you know what I like here about the park too is that you've got information bulletins with almost every bin.
There's lots and lots of how-to information here.
What a great way to recycle your garden waste by composting.
I'm in Lakewood, Washington, a wonderful old community filled with beautiful gardens and tall trees and turn-of-the-century homes that have been here for over 100 years. And we chose this setting especially to introduce a new product from Mutual Materials Company called the Celtic Retaining Wall System. And what I like so much about this product is its classic hand-hewn, stone-chipped look. When it's installed, it looks like it's been there forever. And it's one of those products that's subtle, enhancing its surroundings, not overpowering them. It comes in 4 widths and 2 heights, allowing for a variety of wall configurations, and an attractive capping unit is also available, and is designed to create curves and corners with ease. Today, with the help of our landscape contractor, we're going to create a series of border walls, planting beds, and a seating area to demonstrate the versatility of this remarkable wall system. And finally, we will install cobblestone pavers to create an inviting, aesthetically pleasing overall look to our project. Now first we dig a trench with a minimum depth of 5 inches plus 1 inch for every foot of wall height. Now the base course is the most important course in any project and must be level. While installing the base course, we want to make sure we are leveling the units from front to back and side to side. And to install additional courses, either place the connectors in the first position, as we have done here today, for a vertical wall, or place them in the back position to allow for a setback. Because of the design flexibility of the Celtic wall system, we are combining the 135 millimeter and 90 millimeter units to create an ashlar pattern and provide a classic element to our landscape. And finally, to enhance the finished look and to provide a seating area for the patio, we are installing the Celtic cap units. Look at this area. Isn't it beautiful? What a dramatic transformation. With the Celtic wall system, we have improved the driveway, created wonderful seating and planting areas, while maintaining the existing old world look of the surrounding area.
During the heat of summer, one of the most misunderstood parts of summer gardening is that of watering. So let's discuss a few things that'll make your watering chores a little bit easier. I'm using an oscillating sprinkler here, and what we need to do is to put down 1 inch of water a week, no more than that. But here's where we make the mistake. We water just a little bit at a time. The best idea is to put down the inch all at one time. And that's why these containers are out here, to measure when you get 1 inch. Now, if you do that time-wise, you can say, oh, gee, if I let the sprinkler run for 2 hours, I put down 1 inch of water, and from then on, you never have to measure it again. By the way, by placing containers away from the sprinkler like that, you can also see how efficient the sprinkler is. Because if you have a 1/2 inch of water here and a whole inch of water over here, then you're not getting a good even distribution of water. Now, if you've got a specific area, for example, along the edge of the house, which is usually quite narrow, or the parking strip, there are square type sprinklers, and that'll save you a lot of money. Why use a round sprinkler that's going to water the walk or the streetway or your neighbors? Instead, it'll be a lot more efficient if you use that kind of a sprinkler. Now, how do you know whether you're getting good water penetration? One of the ways is to take a straight edge shovel like this, penetrate the turf, and actually pull it back, and then look down in there and see if the soil is wet. If you have thatch or something of that nature, it's going to shed a lot of the water off to the side. So this way then you can determine how deep the water is going into the turf or into the flower beds too. Now, here's another idea, and this really works neat. This, of course, is a soaker hose, and it fits right onto into the garden hose. And all you need to do is to just actually extend it up into the beds, and then there are these little hooks that you can actually hook it in place. And then whenever you want to water this bed, all you do is fasten the garden hose to it. Very simple way of doing it. One other thing that's very important for those of you that have automatic sprinkler systems, by all means do this check here with the shovel. Because people are asking me all the time, hey, we have an automatic sprinkler, it comes on at 4 o'clock in the morning, our lawn's still turning yellow. And when I look at it, they're getting water penetration about that deep. The sprinkler doesn't stay on long enough at one time. It's a little bit every day, and that does no good. So, what you want to do is then go to the box and actually set the timer and experiment a little for a week until you know how long it takes to get good water penetration in the turf. And if you do those things, gosh, your sprinkling is going to be so much easier. You're going to save money and you're going to save time too. If you're looking for an attractive annual vine, this is one of our plants of the week, the beautiful Mandavilla. This is a variety called Alice DuPont. Look at the gorgeous large pink flowers, and you can see the buds coming on, so there'll be lots of them over a long period of time. Now this is only hardy down to 40 degrees, so it's a plant that you probably would want to leave in the container and then bring it in as a houseplant over winter and grow it as a vine indoors. And then next spring set it back outside again. Look at the gorgeous foliage. Isn't that a neat background for those very, very attractive pink flowers? Mandavilla is the vine, and it flowers all summer long, so it's really a nice vine to have in the home. Outside and then in the home, I should say. And then our second plant is this beautiful canna. This is a variety called Pretoria, and Pretoria has this gorgeous variegated foliage and then a very attractive orange flower, which makes it really unusual. And it gives kind of a tropical effect or appearance to the garden because of the texture of the leaves. Now it'll grow about 3 to 6 feet tall, so it'll get quite tall. Again, this is only hardy to about freezing, so we would treat it like we would a geranium, in that we would dig it up and store it over winter and then put it back out in the garden after all danger of frost the next year. And then our third plant, another unusual one, is this one. It's a ginger, and this is a pink flowering variety. It's hardy down to about 30 degrees, and this one grows best in shade, whereas the others are best in sun. This is a good one for a shady location in the garden. And again, you would want to bring it in and treat it as a houseplant over winter. It is a perennial, but it's a tender perennial. Be sure to keep it moist. That's its one requirement. All of these plants are quality plants, and you'll find them at your local nursery or garden center. Today we're at the Washington State Capitol in Olympia, Washington, and I'm with the ground supervisor, Mark Robb. Mark, where is the Washington State Capitol?
It's located in Olympia, Washington here, approximately 60 miles south of Seattle and 100 miles north of Portland, Oregon.
What part of the garden are we in here?
We're in the sunken garden part of the garden, which a lot of people come to look at when they come here on tourism.
Yeah, it's a beautiful annuals.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, very nice. Tell me about the Capitol. When about was it established?
The original grounds were established in 1928, and there was approximately 54 acres that was donated to the state capitol grounds here.
Now, you maintain more than that now, don't you?
We do, with off-campus and some satellite buildings around the area. We do approximately 186 total acres.
It's beautiful the way you've used annuals on the grounds in several places, but we're standing in an area very close to the conservatory. Now, the conservatory when's its best time of the year?
The best time is any time of the year. It's always open to the public, except on weekends at this time. It's open from 8 to 3. We do our own annual production in there. This year we raised approximately 14,000 annuals.
And the ones that we're seeing right here,
these are part of the tours, and as it zones, each there's a lot of annual beds.
Yeah, it's really nice. You know, as we stand here, behind me are several statues too. Could you just tell us a little bit about them?
You bet. Right behind you, Ed, is the Wing Victory Memorial that was put up after World War I. It's got the 3 Army, Navy, and Marine and the Nurses Corps on it. We have located the Vietnam Memorial over here. We have the Medal of Honor, and across Capitol Boulevard is the Korean War Monument that was dedicated a few years ago.
I noticed in front of me a beautiful totem pole.
Yes, that's 80 foot tall, and that was after the death of Chief Shelton. That was a Snohomish Indian tribe that was put in. It's 80 foot tall.
Now you conduct tours, or there are
Correct.
tours conducted here, aren't there?
Right, there are tours daily, 7 days a week of the buildings. There's a grounds tour of all the trees on campus. There's a mansion tour that you sign up for on Wednesday for mansion tours at the governor's mansion there.
Now the 180 some acres that you maintain, when's the best time to visit?
Any time of the year is a good time to visit. It depends on what season you like. Now is a perfect time. Tourism is up right now. We have approximately estimated over 500,000 people a year that come.
Thanks, Mark. That's all the time we have today. Hope you can join me at the same time next time for Gardening in America. And remember, our relationship with the planet today is tomorrow's future. Have a great week.